29th of March 2017, an historic day from which there is no going back. Those are the words from the Prime Minister Theresa May to the House of Commons today in her speech following the letter that was delivered to the European Council today, triggering Article 50, which gives the UK this 2-year period which to negotiate a new relationship with the remaining European Union members. I'm here in central London at the Shakespeare's Head, in High Holborn to be precise, at JD Wetherspoon's pub, and we're here now talking to JD Wetherspoon's chairman, Tim Martin, about Brexit amongst other things. Tim, welcome. As I came into your pub, I spoke to a couple of people, and a lot of buzz at the moment about Brexit being this day. But how about the difference between a hard and a soft Brexit?
I think we've got too hung up on semantics, hard and soft Brexit. Just imagine if the American Declaration of Independence 240 odd years ago, they said, yeah, we're going to not decide whether it's a hard or soft independence. It's about democracy. And democracy is the key thing which has created the prosperity in America, New Zealand, Australia, Singapore, Japan, lots of other countries around the world. That's what it is. Maybe we'll do a good deal with the EU. Maybe it won't be such a good deal. We'll have to sort it out in the future.
Is the EU a priority here in terms of trade negotiations, or are non-EU countries in your mind? There's only a limited amount of negotiation that ever take place at any one time because of limited numbers of experienced people. Do you see our interest better served in negotiating deals with India, with China, with Canada, with the US, rather than other EU nations?
I think I'm really worried about the preoccupation with negotiating deals. We haven't got a deal with America or China or India, nor has the EU. But we trade in enormous quantities with those countries, and we've got a massive trade surplus with the United States. So you don't need a deal, and the danger is everyone is fixated and deeply believes that our future prosperity depends on a deal, that someone's going to rush out and do a really bad deal. So chill out, take a holiday in the Caribbean. If the EU wants to do a deal, we're ready. If not, we'll trade under World Trade Organization rules. That's the best way to play it, especially since they sell us twice as much as we sell them. Puts you in a great position, I can tell you that from my experience of business.
How about the relationship with the European Union nations? How long is it going to be, do you think, that the likes of BMW, Daimler-Benz, Danone, Bosch, whoever, starts knocking on the door of their own governments to say, look, come on, we want a deal? Do you think, I mean, we've heard a lot about what's happening here in the UK and the worries about the fact we might not be able to make deals. It's not about us, it's about other people as well as us.
Very true, and I think President Juncker said a while ago, the unelected President Juncker said a while ago that he wanted to punish the UK. So I asked him through the media, what do you want us to do, Juncker? Do you want us to stop buying French champagne, Belgian cider, the excellent wheat beer from Germany? If you do, we'll switch. But he's gone silent since then, so he's even frightened of Wetherspoon. So there's silly talk, which is unfair on EU companies. Of course they want to trade with us. We're friendly with the EU peoples, and they themselves are burdened with the undemocratic EU.
What about JD Wetherspoon as a company and your relationship with overseas suppliers and deals that you have to hammer out? Do you see those deals having to be renegotiated, or are you just happy to carry on as you ever were?
Well, we buy, for example, most of our wine from outside the EU, even though it's often subject to tariffs. So, and it hasn't, I didn't even know we were paying tariffs. We just negotiated the deal. So I think that's how trade works. So if the EU wants to be in a better position for its wine sales, very important industry, it doesn't want to get in a situation where there are mutual tariffs imposed, or they'll lose even more wine trade to the new world. So it's very important not to overplay the trade deal angle.
How about staffing? Here in central London, I know that your pubs in central London rely a lot on staff from the European Union and other overseas countries, of course. How do you see that changing? I mean, there's been a lot of emphasis on trying to make sure, there's assuage concerns from government here to make sure that we have this remaining good relationship with staff that do work here. Do you see anything changing as an employer?
Well, it's hard to know. The issue of independence and the referendum has been conflated with immigration. I personally am liberal on immigration. I think countries with low birth rates need a steadily rising population, provided it's controlled by our own UK government and not unelected people in Brussels. So I think that the sensible policy is a continuation of reasonable levels of immigration, and hopefully that will benefit EU countries and benefit us.
One of the reasons for the Brexit vote, my understanding, is that a lot of people want to be disassociated with a lot of the regulation that's imposed upon the British people by Europe. The pub industry generally, is there much regulation that comes upon your shoulders because of our relationship with the EU?
For the man in the street, or even someone like me who's got a law degree in the street, it's almost impossible to know without doing massive research where EU law ends and British law begins. So it's a very difficult question to answer, but what is certainly better is that the laws and regulations that affect you are made at the UK Parliament, so you can see your MP say, this is a dire law, I'm not going to vote for you unless you try and sort it out, and they can do something. What happens now is they put their hands in the air and say, well, it's the EU, and it's an impossibly complex and undemocratic legal system there, so it's very difficult for a citizen to do anything.
But you have been very critical of some of the government's attitudes towards the pub industry. Regularly we see this in releases from JD Wetherspoon about the unfair dealings with the pub industry against supermarkets with regard VAT, with tax, excise duty. You say it's all stacked up against the pub industry. Presumably this exit from Euro is not going to change any of that. Your gripe with that part of government here in the UK will remain.
No, I mean, it's, if you become an independent country and make your own laws, it's not necessarily nirvana. You'll still get daft laws, and that what you've seen from me is lobbying the government to try and make them fairer. It's so much better if the decisions are made down the road in the Houses of Parliament rather than I've never tried to lobby the EU and wouldn't know where to start, and that's the underlying frustration that the citizens of Europe have with the EU. It's not properly accountable. No taxation without representation was how the United States put it a couple of hundred years ago.
We know that British business has been heavily engaged with the UK government on the future and how the shape of the relationship is with the UK to the EU after Brexit. Have you been asked?
Well, they'd have to have their head very deeply in the sand, probably somewhere on a remote island in Australia, not to know what I think. And that is that we should leave the EU and that we shouldn't worry too much about a trade deal, as I said to you. So the people who have been lobbying hard, like the CBI, have got almost everything wrong over the exchange rate mechanism, the euro, and now whether we should leave the European Union. So I just hope the government take a chill pill and don't worry too much about what's said to them.
Your last half earnings, I think you have a 3% rise in revenue, 9% rise in pre-tax profit, I think. Clearly things are going well for you in the pub industry. How's the second half started? I'm probably going to get clapped in irons, but yeah, it's okay. If it had been any different to what it was in the first half, I would have had to have said, and we haven't made any sort of trading statement. So things are going along pretty well in the UK economy, I think, for pubs, supermarkets, and businesses generally. It's business as usual with the economy growing probably much where it has been for the average on the last 30 years or something like that. Well, look, Tim, it's a pleasure. Thanks indeed for spending some time with us here at IG with the pub industry. That's Tim Martin, the chairman of Wetherspoons, the FTSE 250 listed company that owns this pub here, the Shakespeare's Head in High Holborn.